Welcome back. In this unit 1 of Human Anatomy and Physiology 2, we are dealing with peripheral nervous system. So in peripheral nervous system, I think you can figure out the classification of nervous system. So nervous system, it is classified into central nervous system and peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system consists of brain and spinal cord, whereas peripheral nervous system consists of all these nerves which come out of this central nervous system, that is the brain and spinal cord. And under these peripheral nerves, you will be studying about cranial nerves and spinal nerves. Cranial nerves are the nerves which come from the cranium, that is the brain, whereas spinal nerves are the nerves which come out from the spinal cord. These are called as spinal nerves. Apart from this, there are other nerves which are called as autonomic nerves and somatic nerves. All the spinal nerves once again can be classified broadly into motor nerves and sensory nerves, and somatic nerves and autonomic nerves. So we will see them in detail in today's chapter. As we have seen that you will be studying about all these nerves which come out from the brain and spinal cord, here you will be studying about 12 pairs of cranial nerves. So here all these peripheral nerves which come out from the brain and spinal cord, they occur in pairs. That is, there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves and 31 pairs of spinal nerves. And once again we will see what are these 31 pairs, of which we will have 8 pairs of cervical nerves, 12 pairs of thoracic nerves, 5 pairs of lumbar nerves, 5 pairs of sacral nerves, and 1 pair of coccygeal nerve. Generally, the lumbar nerves, sacral nerves, and coccygeal nerves, they leave the spinal cord at the L1 position, means at the first lumbar vertebrae position, and here they appear to be as a bunch of nerves coming from a same region, and here it is called as cauda equina, or which it is having an appearance of horse tail. And apart from this, we will also be studying about autonomic nerves. All these three, they constitute the peripheral nerves. Let's go in detail. So initially, before going into these peripheral nerves, let us see about those nerves which come out of the spinal cord. So these generally are called as spinal nerves, whereas when coming to the cranial nerves, it is not like they have these particular features. They come out directly from the nuclei that are present in the brain, especially the lower regions of the brain. Whereas the spinal nerves, which are once again differentiated into motor nerves, sensory nerves, autonomic nerves, are having a peculiar arrangement within the spinal cord, and let's see them in detail. Generally, those nerves which come out from the spinal cord, these are called as nerve roots. These are called as nerve roots, and these nerve roots arise from both sides of the spinal cord, and these emerge from the intervertebral foramina. So the nerve roots, they arise from the spinal cord itself, and once again they leave the spinal cord outwards through the intervertebral foramina, that is nothing but the space between two vertebrae which forms a foramina. Generally, each nerve root, it is formed from either anterior and posterior. So anterior nerve root, it consists of axons of lower motor neurons. We should remember that generally when in the transverse section of a spinal cord, we can see the gray matter that is present in the middle, whereas the white matter that is present in the periphery. And this gray matter, it is arranged in an H shape, of which it consists of two anterior horns and two posterior horns. Apart from this, in the middle, it consists of transverse column, or these are also called as anterior columns, posterior columns, transverse columns, and lateral columns. In this way, the gray matter is arranged as an H-shaped structure with throughout the spinal cord from the brain till the end of the spinal cord. And that particular regions of gray matter, which are nothing but cell bodies, which are present anteriorly, are called as anterior columns, and which are present posteriorly are called as posterior columns. And the axons of those cell bodies which are present anteriorly, they come out of the spinal cord as an anterior nerve root. And this anterior nerve root, generally it consists of motor neurons, or nothing but these are the axons of lower motor neurons which arise from the spinal cord. And the posterior nerve roots, generally they have spinal nerves which consists of sensory neurons which carry impulses from various regions of the body, and they enter into the spinal cord through this ganglion which is present just outside the spinal cord. And this ganglion, it is called as spinal ganglion, or we can say dorsal root ganglion, or posterior ganglion. And all the sensory nerve fibers, they pass through this ganglia before entering into the spinal cord, that too especially in the posterior column of gray matter in the spinal cord. Generally, as we have discussed, that the thoracic nerves till the lumbar nerves, means from the thoracic, first thoracic nerve to the L2 region, or the second lumbar nerve. So these gives rise to an sympathetic neurons. From the thoracic to the L1 region, it gives rise to sympathetic neurons. Apart from this, anterior motor and posterior sensory neurons. The two roots, generally they join to form a spinal nerve, which is generally called as an midset nerve. We have seen that from the spinal cord anteriorly, it consists of axons of motor neurons, whereas posteriorly it consists of axons of spinal sensory nerves. And as soon as they leave the vertebrae through the intervertebral foramina, they combine to form an midset nerve. So you can see in the diagram, as this from in the spinal cord, once coming immediately outside the spinal cord, it consists of anterior and posterior rami. Anterior ramus, it is motor; posterior ramus, it is sensory. Where once these anterior ramus and posterior ramus, they come out from the intervertebral foramina of vertebrae, immediately they are combined as a single nerve or bundle of neurons, which once again is called as an midset nerve. So generally the spinal nerves which come out of these intervertebral foramina, they are mixed nerves. And these spinal nerves which come out of this intervertebral foramina, they divide into branches, and these branches are called as a ramus. Each individual branch is called as an ramus, and each branch it is together it is called as an rami. And immediately outside the intervertebral foramina, it divides into 3 branches or 3 ramus. The ramus communicans, anterior ramus and posterior ramus are the 3 branches into which these spinal nerves are divided into as soon as they come out of this intervertebral foramina. The ramus communicans, it forms a part of preganglionic sympathetic neurons. As we have seen that the thoracic T1 to the lumbar, it means the 12 pairs of thoracic nerves and the lumbar L1 and L2, it gives rise to sympathetic neurons also. It means it gives rise to autonomic nerves also in these regions, and this it is called as ramus communicans. Whereas the posterior ramus, it passes backwards. It passes backwards and it once again divides into smaller nerves or medial nerves or lateral branches, and generally they are supplied to limited regions in the body, especially the skin, muscles, head, neck and trunk, mostly the posterior sides. We have seen that the ramus communicans is an autonomic neuron, whereas the posterior ramus, once again it is an mixed nerve. So mixed nerve in the sense it consists of both axons of motor neurons and axons of sensory neurons. So this mixed nerves once again divides into smaller branches such as medial and lateral branches, and these once again are supplied to the especially the posterior regions of the body or to the back, especially to the skin, muscles of the head, neck and trunk. So the posterior ramus supplies nerves to these regions, skin and muscles of head, neck and trunk. Whereas the anterior ramus, so which once again it is a mixed nerve, this anterior ramus, it supplies to the anterior and lateral aspects of neck, trunk, upper limbs and lower limbs. So the extent of distribution of posterior ramus or the nerves which come out through this posterior ramus is limited to only skin and muscles of head, neck and trunk, whereas the extent of supply of the nerves which come out through anterior ramus is wide. It is supplied to the skin, neck, muscles and joints of neck, trunk, upper limbs and lower limbs. So these are the branches of spinal nerves. We have seen the nerve roots and we have seen the nerve branches. So you can differentiate the nerve roots. Nerve roots are those things which come out immediately from the spinal cord, whereas branches are those things which come out immediately from the intervertebral foramina. So nerve roots are anterior and posterior, whereas branches are anterior rami, posterior rami and ramus communicans. Now let's see about various nerve plexuses or nerve plexus. Plexus is singular whereas plexuses is plural. nerve plexus in the sense we have seen that there are various nerves which come out from various regions of the spinal cord, from the starting from the cervical region to the sacral and coccygeal region. There are 31 pairs of spinal nerves which come out from this spinal cord, and generally these nerves which emerge at different regions, from cervical region, from thoracic region, from lumbar region, from sacral and coccygeal regions, they once again combine with the nerves which come from different intervertebral foramina, and together they form groups of branches which are called as plexuses. And here there are 5 important such groups which are formed by intermixing of various neurons or various nerves, especially from the anterior rami in different regions of spinal cord. Generally, you can see in the cervical region, in the lumbar region, and in the sacral region. Only in these 3 regions the anterior rami unites with other branches to form large masses of nerves, and these large masses of nerves are called as plexuses. Generally these are called as nerve fibers are regrouped, though we have seen that they arise from first cervical vertebrae, second cervical vertebrae, lumbar, sacral and all. These once again are intermixed with each other in this plexuses, so that we can say that they are regrouped and rearranged and are supplied to all these other regions of skin, muscles and joints. And we have to remember that anterior rami is a mixed nerve. It has both motor neurons and sensory neurons. It means the axons of motor neurons and axons of sensory neurons. And let us see what are the important plexuses that are formed by these anterior ramus in these regions. And we have seen that plexuses are formed by the axons or the spinal nerves which arise from cervical, lumbar and sacral regions. So here the 5 important plexuses in the body, these are cervical plexus, brachial plexus, lumbar plexus, sacral plexus and coccygeal plexus. These are the 5 different plexuses which are formed by this anterior ramus in cervical, lumbar and sacral regions. Cervical plexus, brachial plexus, lumbar plexus, sacral plexus and coccygeal plexus. Now let's see them in detail. The first one is cervical plexus. So cervical plexus, it is a plexus which is formed by the first 4 cervical spinal nerves. We have seen that there are 8 pairs of cervical nerves, and here cervical plexus is a plexus or a group of neurons of first 4 from C1, C2, C3 and C4 cervical nerves. And these cervical nerves, generally this plexus, it lies below the sternocleidomastoid muscle. So this sternocleidomastoid muscle is the muscle which is attached to the sternum, passes through the clavicle, and it is attached to the mastoid process of mandible, and here this mastoid process of the temporal bone. And here these, once again it differentiates, as we have seen, it forms a group of nerve bundle through C1, C2, C3 and C4 cervical nerves, and once again they are branched, and these once again it branches into different nerves which forms superficial branches and deep branches. The superficial branches are supplied to the back and side of the head, so to the back and sides of the head, and also it is supplied to the skin of these in these regions and also to the front of the neck. So it is the superficial branches are supplied to the back and sides of the neck, both the muscles and the skin, whereas it is also supplied to the front of the neck, whereas the deep branches, these are supplied to the muscles of the neck. And the third, fourth and fifth cervical nerves, once again they combine to form a larger nerve which is called as phrenic nerve, and this phrenic nerve is the nerve which is supplied to the diaphragm, and this diaphragm is a muscle which differentiates the thoracic cavity with that of abdominal cavity, and contraction and relaxation of this diaphragm, it is essential for respiration. Any damage to this phrenic nerve, it causes lack of respiration, because the muscle, when it is not able to contract or relax, the lungs cannot be expanding and contracting. So hence phrenic nerve is essential for respiration, and it is formed by a combination of C3, C4 and C5 cervical nerves. That is cervical plexus. We have seen cervical plexus, it is formed by the first, second, third and fourth cervical nerves, and once again it divides into superficial branches, deep branches and phrenic nerve. Superficial branches, generally they are supplied to the skin and muscles of the back and side of the head, whereas deep branches, these are supplied to the muscles of the neck, and phrenic nerve, it is supplied to the diaphragm. And another plexus which is formed by this cervical nerves is called as brachial plexus. So all cervical plexus and brachial plexus, it is formed by the combination of nerves which arise from this cervical vertebrae, that is cervical nerves. And let's see the distribution of this nerves which arise from these regions, that is C5, C6, C7 and C8. Generally this brachial plexus, it is situated deep in the neck and the shoulder. They are present behind the subclavian vessels and in the axillary region. So this is the region where this brachial plexus is present. They are present deep in the neck region and in the shoulder region, and these are present behind the subclavian blood vessels and also in the axilla. And once again this brachial plexus, which is formed by the combination of this cervical vertebrae, they are involved in formation of different types of nerves. Once again they are grouped, and once again they are regrouped and rearranged, and in this process brachial plexus is also formed by combination of 4 cervical nerves and 1 thoracic nerve, that is C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1, that is the first thoracic nerve. So in this way brachial plexus is formed by these nerves, and once they are formed, once again they are regrouped and rearranged to form different types of nerves. So let us see what are the different types of nerves which are arised from the brachial plexus. They are radial nerve. So radial nerve, it is formed by combination of these cervical nerves C5, C6, C7, C8 and T1, and this radial nerve, it passes behind the femur and it is supplied to the triceps muscle. It is supplied to the triceps muscle and it is supplied to the extensor muscles of fingers, joints and wrist. So generally it passes backwards. The radial muscle, it passes backwards, and generally it is supplied to the triceps muscle, it extends downwards and it is supplied to the extensor muscles of the fingers, joints and wrist. brachial plexus also forms axillary nerve, and this axillary nerve generally it rotates or it surrounds the shoulder joint, and it is supplied to the axilla, that is axillary nerve. So we have seen that brachial plexus gives rise to radial nerve and axillary nerve, and this radial nerve it is supplied to the triceps muscle, and it is supplied to the extensor muscles of fingers, joints, and in the wrist, whereas the other nerve is musculocutaneous nerve, which is formed by the combination of C5, C6 and C7. So that is called as musculocutaneous nerve. As the name itself suggests, it is supplied to the muscle and it is supplied to the cutaneous region or the skin. And here we can see these nerves are supplied to the muscles of upper arm and also the skin of forearm. So it is supplied to the muscles of upper arm and the skin of forearm. So that is called as musculocutaneous nerve, which is formed by C5, C6 and C7, whereas radial nerve it is formed by the combination of all the 5 nerves which contribute to the formation of brachial plexus. Next is median nerve. So median nerve it is formed by all the 5 nerves which form the brachial plexus, C5 to C8 and T1, and this medial nerve it passes through the in front of this forearm, so generally in close association with the brachial artery, and it passes downwards. Generally it is supplied to the palmar aspect of hand. So median nerve it passes through the center of this arm in close association with the brachial artery, and it is supplied to the palmar aspect of arm. So once again it is supplied to the muscles, it is supplied to the skin, and it is supplied to the joints in these regions. So that is median artery, and we will see that it also is supplied to the regions of fingers, whereas the ulnar nerve, so ulnar nerve is formed by the combination of C7, C8 and T1. So that is ulnar nerve. So we have seen that in the skeletal system that our forearm it consists of radius and ulna. So radius is the one which is present laterally, and ulna is the one which is present medially, and here this nerve which moves towards this ulna it is called as ulnar nerve, which moves towards the radius it is called as radial nerve, and which moves in the middle it is called as median nerve. And we have seen that the radial nerve it is supplied to the triceps muscles, it is supplied to the extensor muscles of fingers and joints and wrist. So generally it covers the first 3 fingers, whereas the ulnar nerve so it covers the next 2 fingers, 4th and 5th finger, and it is also supplied to the muscles of ulnar aspects in this region. Whereas the the final nerve which is formed by this brachial plexus is medial cutaneous nerve. So it is supplied to the skin and muscles which are present in the medial arm or in the middle. So we have seen the musculocutaneous it is necessary for supplying of muscles of upper arm and the skin of forearm, whereas this medial cutaneous nerve it is supplied to the muscles which are present in the medial region. So these are the various branches which are formed by the brachial plexus. They are axillary nerve which is supplied to this axillary region, radial nerve which is present towards the radius, and median nerve which is present in the middle, ulnar nerve which is present towards the ulna, and musculocutaneous nerve which is supplied to the skin and muscles of upper arm and forearm, and medial cutaneous nerve which is supplied to the skin and muscles of medial arm. So these are the various nerves of brachial plexus. So in this diagram you can see what are various nerves which are formed from the brachial plexus. We have seen brachial plexus, it is present in the deep regions of shoulder, and once again it forms into various nerves: the axillary nerve, the radial nerve, the ulnar nerve, the medial nerve, the musculocutaneous nerve, and the medial cutaneous nerve. So these are the various nerve. And here in the other diagram you can find what are the various regions that are covered by different nerves. So generally that particular region to which any particular nerve is supplied to the skin, that region it is called as dermatome. That region is called as an dermatome, and here you can see different colors. It means that particular nerves are supplied to that particular region, and that is the dermatome of that particular nerve. So that is regarding brachial plexus. So we have seen in the cervical plexus or cervical nerves, they form both cervical plexus and brachial plexus. After the cervical nerves comes the thoracic nerves. So thoracic nerves, they do not form plexus with any other nerves. They are not grouped, they are not regrouped and rearranged. They are indirectly supplied to thoracic region that we will see in detail. But initially we are discussing about those nerves which form into groups and once again which regroup and are rearranged. We have seen about cervical plexus, we have seen about brachial plexus, and now let's see about lumbar plexus. So lumbar plexus, it is generally formed from the lumbar nerves. So generally the lumbar nerves, there are 5 pairs of lumbar nerves, and lumbar plexus, then it is a combination of those nerves which arise from different regions, and due to this regrouping these form different nerves. The lumbar nerves form lumbar plexus, and from the lumbar plexus are formed different nerves, and let's see them in detail. So the lumbar plexus, it gives rise to ilio-hypogastric nerve, ilio-inguinal nerve, and genitofemoral nerve. So these are the 3 nerves. There are other nerves also which we will discuss. So these are the 3 nerves: ilio-hypogastric, ilio-inguinal, and genitofemoral. So these are the nerves. Generally you can see the ilio-hypogastric nerve, it is formed from the L1 nerve, ilio-inguinal nerve which is formed from the L1, and also the genitofemoral nerve which is formed by the combination of L1 and L2. And these are supplied to the muscles and skin in lower abdominal region, in the lower abdominal region, and also in the upper and medial regions of thigh and inguinal area. So these are the nerves which are supplied to the lower abdominal region from this region, and they are supplied to the skin and muscles. I want you to remember that all these spinal nerves which we are discussing are nerves which are supplied to the skin and muscles and which receive impulses from the skin and muscles. It means we are discussing about somatic nervous system. And here we have seen that these are the nerves which are supplied to the skin and muscles of muscles in the thigh and also in the inguinal region. The other nerve which is formed from the lumbar plexus is a lateral femoral cutaneous nerve. So we have seen in the brachial plexus musculocutaneous nerve, we have seen medial cutaneous nerve which is supplied to the skin and muscles, and here such one nerve is a lateral femoral cutaneous nerve of thigh, which is formed by the L2 and L3. We should also remember what are the various nerve which contributes to the formation of this thing. Iliohypogastric is formed by L1, ilioinguinal is formed by L1, whereas genitofemoral is formed by L1 and L2. Whereas lateral femoral cutaneous nerve is formed from the L2 and L3 nerves, and these are supplied to the skin and lateral aspects of thigh. Whereas in the previous case we have seen genitofemoral, it is supplied to the upper and medial aspects of thigh, whereas this lateral femoral cutaneous, it is supplied to the lateral aspects of thigh. I hope you remember that medial aspects is something which is present in the middle, lateral is present which is present towards away from the medial. So lateral femoral cutaneous nerve is supplied to the lateral aspects of thigh, whereas genitofemoral is supplied to the upper and medial aspects of thigh. The other important nerve is femoral nerve, and this femoral nerve, it is formed by the combination of L2, L3 and L4 regions, or L2, L3 and L4 nerves, which arise from this lumbar nerves. And these nerves, once again, they divide into cutaneous nerves and muscular nerves, and they are supplied to the front regions of thigh. We have seen the nerve, genitofemoral nerve, which is supplied to the medial aspects of thigh, and whereas lateral femoral cutaneous nerve is supplied to the lateral aspects of thigh, whereas the femoral nerve, once again, it supplies to the front aspects of thigh, and it's one of its important branch called as saphenous nerve. It is supplied to the leg, ankle and foot. That is called as saphenous nerve, and this is one of the important nerves of lumbar plexus. Saphenous nerve, which is once again formed by the as a branch of femoral nerve. And next is obturator nerve, and this obturator nerve, it is formed by the combination of L2, L3 and L4, similar to that of femoral nerve, and this is supplied to the abductor muscles of thigh and the skin of thigh. Abductor muscles of thigh and skin of thigh, and other nerves which are formed by combination of lumbar and sacral are called as lumbosacral trunk, which is formed by this L4 to L5 and sacral nerves, and these are the nerves which are supplied to the pelvic region. So this is about lumbar plexus. So in this diagram you can see how the lumbar plexus is once again divided into different nerves, and we have discussed about those important nerves such as iliohypogastric nerve, ilioinguinal nerve, genitofemoral nerve, lateral femoral cutaneous nerve, femoral nerve, and which once again differentiates into saphenous nerve, and also the other obturator nerve and lumbosacral trunk. This lumbosacral trunk, it is formed by the combination of L4, L5 and sacral nerves, which enter into the pelvis. And the other plexus is sacral plexus. So here sacral plexus, it is formed by the sacral nerves. So we have seen that there are 5 pairs of sacral nerves, and these sacral nerves which are formed from this sacral plexus, these are supplied to the skin and muscles of those structures which are present in the pelvic floor, in the pelvic region, especially in the hip joint and also to the pelvic organs, and this also forms a very important nerve called as sciatic nerve, and this sciatic nerve is formed by a combination of L4, L5 and sacral 1, 2, 3 regions. So this should be remembered. In every case we are having different important nerves. In the cervical nerve, in the cervical plexus, we have seen the important nerve is phrenic nerve, whereas in the brachial plexus the important nerve is radial nerve, ulnar nerve and median nerve, whereas in the case of lumbar plexus, the important nerve is saphenous nerve, whereas here in the case of sacral plexus, the important nerve is sciatic nerve. And this sciatic nerve, it is formed by the combination of L4, L5 lumbar nerves and also sacral 1, 2, 3. And this sciatic nerve, it is the largest nerve in the whole body. So this largest nerve in the whole body, and this once again divides into different nerves such as tibial nerve and common peroneal nerve. So it is divided into tibial nerve and common peroneal nerve, and this tibial nerve, it is supplied to muscles and skin in knee, foot and toe. So once again we know that there are tibia and fibula, and that particular which covers the aspects of tibial region are called as tibial nerve, and this it supplies to the muscles and skin in these regions of knee, foot and toe. And once again it divides into sural nerve, which is supplied to the heel, ankle and dorsum of the foot. The sural nerve is once again a branch of tibial nerve which is supplied to the heel, ankle and foot, whereas the common peroneal nerve, this once again divides into deep and superficial peroneal nerves, and this once again are supplied to the medial aspects of foot, whereas the pudendal nerve, so it is it is supplied to the external anal and urethral sphincters. The pudendal nerve is the nerve which is supplied to the sphincters of anus and urethra, whereas the coccygeal plexus, it is a very small nerve plexus. Generally it is formed by the 4th, 5th sacral nerves and also the coccygeal nerve. We have seen that there is one pair of coccygeal nerve, and this coccygeal plexus is formed by the combination of L4, L5 and one coccygeal nerve, and it is supplied to the skin around the coccyx and the anus. And this is regarding the nerves which arise from cervical, lumbar, sacral and coccygeal regions. So we have discussed about these nerves which arise from these regions, and next we will discuss about those nerves which arise from thoracic regions. We are discussing the nerves which arise from thoracic regions separately because thoracic nerves do not form nerve plexus, whereas these all the nerves which arise from these regions, cervical, lumbar, sacral and coccyx, they form nerve plexus. So we have seen that there are 5 different plexuses. So one is cervical plexus, second is brachial plexus, lumbar plexus, sacral plexus and coccygeal plexus are the 5 different nerve plexuses, so which generally are supplied especially to the skin, muscles of anterior aspects. Now let's see about the thoracic nerves, and we have seen that there are 12 pairs of thoracic nerves, and these thoracic nerves, they do not intermingle with each other to form plexus, and these 12 pairs of thoracic nerves, the 11 pairs of first 11 pairs of thoracic nerves are called as intercostal nerves, because these are the nerves which pass between the ribs and they supply to the ribs, especially the muscles which are present between the ribs, that are intercostal muscles, and these are also supplied to the underlying skin in these regions, means especially in the trunk. The intercostal muscles are supplied to the intercostal nerves, which are nothing but the first 11 pairs of thoracic nerves, whereas the 12th pair, it comprises of the subcostal nerves. The 7th to 12th thoracic nerves, they also supply to the muscles and also skin of the posterior and anterior abdominal walls. So all these are taken care by this thoracic nerves. So generally thoracic nerves, there are 12 pairs. First 11 pairs are intercostal nerves, which are supplied to the intercostal muscles and also to the underlying skin, whereas the 12th pair, it is called as subcostal nerve, whereas those nerves from the 7th and 12th thoracic regions, so these are supplied to the muscles and skin of posterior and anterior abdominal walls also. And this is regarding the spinal nerves. Now let's see about the other types of peripheral nerves, that are cranial nerves. So we have seen that cranial nerves are the nerves which arise from the cranium or from the brain. Especially these nerves arise from the lower regions of the brain. That is, we have seen that brain consists of various groups of cell bodies, and these cell bodies are called as nuclei. And here cranial nerves are the nerves, are the axons of those cell bodies which are present in this nuclei. And there are 12 pairs of cranial nerves, and these 12 pairs of cranial nerves are arranged from anterior to the posterior. In this diagram you can see the arrangement of 12 pairs of, or origin of 12 pairs of cranial nerves from the brain. So let's see them in detail. Of the 12 pairs of cranial nerve, the first cranial nerve, it is called as olfactory nerve. It is called as olfactory nerve. And this olfactory nerve, it is sensory in nature. We have to remember that in the case of when we discussed about spinal nerves, so these spinal nerves, all the spinal nerves which arise outside of this intervertebral foramina are differentiated into anterior rami and posterior rami, and both anterior rami and posterior rami are mixed nerves, whereas the posterior rami are supplied to the skin and muscles of posterior regions of the trunk itself, that is to the back, to the head, to the neck and all, whereas the anterior rami of all these spinal nerves, once again they are regrouped, rearranged by forming plexus. And we have seen the different plexuses, and all these plexuses are formed by the anterior rami only. And both anterior rami and posterior rami, they are mixed nerves. It means they consist of axons of both motor neurons, and they consist of axons of sensory neurons. Hence they are called as mixed nerves. Whereas here in the cranial nerves, you will be coming across those nerves which are either only sensory, or which are either only motor, or which are either mixed nerves. So that we will see along with those nerves which we are discussing here. Here we have seen that olfactory nerve, it is the first cranial nerve, and this first cranial nerve, it is sensory in nature. Olfaction is nothing but it is sense of smell. So this itself shows the origin of this nerve, and this olfactory nerve, it generally it arises from the olfactory sensory receptors which are present in the mucosal wall of the nasal cavity, and these sensory receptors once again they pass through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid bone, and there once again they form an olfactory bulb, and from this olfactory bulb this axons they combine to form an olfactory nerve. And this olfactory nerve or olfactory tract, it is passed posteriorly through the temporal lobe, where this sense of smell is perceived in the brain. So this is olfactory nerve. The second cranial nerve, it is optic nerve, and this optic nerve also it is a sensory nerve. Olfactory nerve is a sensory nerve because it gives sensation of smell, whereas optic nerve is a sensory nerve which gives sensation of sight. and this optic nerve, it arises from the retina. So it is the innermost layer of eyeball, and this olfactory nerve, optic nerve, it arises from this retina, and it passes through the optic foramen of the sphenoid bone, passes through the optic foramen of sphenoid bone, and it joins the optic chiasma, and there it also undergoes decussation or crossing over. So it means in the optic chiasma region, this optic nerve which arises from the right side eye, it moves towards the left side, whereas that arises from the left side, left eye will move towards the right side. So such decussation of tracts also occurs in this optic chiasma, and this later it it ends in the thalamus. Especially in the thalamus, there are cell bodies of lateral geniculate cell bodies, and this from this thalamus, this once again it forms a new neuron, which it is carried to the occipital region, especially to the visual areas of this occipital lobes of cerebrum and cerebellum. And this cerebrum, it interprets the image based upon the input that is coming from this nerves, whereas cerebellum, it estimates the posture, our gait, body, position based on the external environment. So in this way, the sense of sight and the sense of presence of surrounding objects also, it is perceived by this optic nerves. And the third cranial nerve, it is oculomotor nerve. So as the name itself it suggests, it is a motor nerve. So we have seen olfactory, it is a sensory nerve, optic, it is a sensory nerve, whereas olfactory nerve, it is sensory in nature, optic is sensory in nature, whereas oculomotor nerve is motor in nature. It means it sends impulses. So sensory in the sense it receives impulses, and all these impulses which pass through this motor nerve, these are called as efferent impulses, and those impulses which pass through this sensory impulses are called as afferent impulses. Whereas here we have seen oculomotor nerve, it is an we can call it as an efferent nerve because it carries efferent impulses, and generally these oculomotor nerve, they have their nuclei, means the cell bodies are present in the nuclei, and this nuclei are present in the cerebral aqueduct region, and these neurons are supplied to the extrinsic muscles. So extrinsic muscles which are attached to the eyeball. So those muscles which are attached to the eyeball and which are essential for the movement of the eyeball. So these are the extrinsic muscles, and here this oculomotor nerve, it is supplied to 4 types of these extrinsic muscles. They are superior, medial, inferior recti and inferior oblique. So these are the different extrinsic muscles to which the oculomotor nerves are supplied. Superior extrinsic muscles, medial extrinsic muscles, means superior means which are present on the top of the eyeball, medial means which are present towards the middle, whereas it is also supplied to the inferior oblique muscles and inferior recti muscles. So these are the 4 different muscles: superior, medial, inferior rectus and inferior oblique. Whereas these oculomotor nerves are also supplied to some intrinsic muscles. So intrinsic muscles are the muscles which are present in which enter into the eyeball. So these are the ciliary muscles and circular muscles. So ciliary muscles are the muscles which regulate the ciliary body. Ciliary body is the one which holds the lens in position. and contraction of this ciliary body or relaxation is necessary for the adjustment of thickness of lens, and this is an intrinsic muscle. And the other intrinsic muscle is circular muscle. So circular muscle, it is present in the iris. So contraction or relaxation of this circular muscle will lead to constriction or dilation of the pupil. And oculomotor nerve also, it is a nerve which supplies to both extrinsic muscles and intrinsic muscles. And of that extrinsic muscles, so there are 6 different types of extrinsic muscles, but oculomotor nerve will supply only to the 4 types. So they are superior, inferior, medial and inferior oblique muscles. The other cranial nerve is trochlear nerve, and this trochlear nerve is also a motor nerve, and this is also supplied to the same extrinsic muscle, but the muscle to which it supplies is superior oblique. We have seen of the 6, oculomotor supplies to the 4, whereas trochlear muscle supplies to the 5th one, that is superior oblique nerve. And here the cell bodies of this trochlear nerve, they lie in the nuclei that are present near the cerebral aqueduct, whereas the 5th cranial nerve, so it is called as trigeminal nerve. So trigeminal in the sense it consists of, it is a formed by 3 different nerves. So once if it is formed by 3 different nerves, obviously it might be a mixed nerve, and hence here it is a mixed nerve. So we will see what are the 3 different types of nerves which together form this trigeminal nerve. So we have seen 2 sensory nerves and 2 motor nerves. We have seen olfactory nerve and optic nerve are sensory nerves, whereas oculomotor nerve and trochlear nerve are motor nerves. And the 5th is the trigeminal nerve, and this trigeminal nerve, it is a mixed nerve. And this trigeminal nerve, it is formed by a combination of ophthalmic nerves, maxillary nerves and mandibular nerves. Ophthalmic, maxillary and mandibular, whereas ophthalmic and maxillary nerves are sensory in nature, whereas mandibular nerves are sensory and motor in nature. And this trigeminal nerve, it is the largest cranial nerve, and it gets sensory information from the face and head, whereas it sends motor information to the muscles, and this is necessary for chewing. Sensory information from the face and what we can say head, whereas motor information to the muscles of chewing. So both to the maxillary muscles which are attached to the mandible, and it facilitates the chewing. So we have seen trigeminal nerve, it is formed by a combination of ophthalmic nerve, maxillary nerve and mandibular nerve. Ophthalmic and maxillary nerve, so they are sensory in nature, whereas mandibular nerve, it consists of both sensory and motor neurons. The 6th cranial nerve, it is called as abducens nerve, and abducens nerve is also once again a motor nerve which is supplied to an extrinsic muscle, and that extrinsic muscle is lateral rectus muscle. So we have seen, or we can say that that is the lateral muscle. We have seen that there are 6 extrinsic muscles which are supplied to the, which are attached to the eyeball, of which 4 extrinsic muscles are supplied by the oculomotor nerve, and 1 it is supplied by the trochlear nerve, and the 6th one it is supplied by the abducens nerve. So abducens nerve, it is supplied to the lateral rectus muscles. So there are 2 different types of muscles, rectus muscles and oblique muscles, and here there are 4 rectus muscles and 2 oblique muscles. So all these 6 together, they are called as extrinsic muscles. Next we will see the 7th cranial nerve. So this is called as facial nerve, and this facial nerve is once again a midset nerve, and this has its nuclei at pons in the brain stem, and this is supplied to facial muscles where it is motor in nature to the facial muscles. The muscles of face can move because of the motor impulses from this facial nerve, and generally the taste buds which are present in the anterior region of tongue. So this gets sensory information by this facial nerve, and this sensory information is carried to the sensory area, especially in the cerebral cortex. Whereas the eighth cranial nerve, it is called as vestibulocochlear nerve, and this vestibulocochlear nerve, it is a sensory nerve because it is once again a combination of two nerves. One is vestibular nerve and the other is cochlear nerve. So vestibular nerve, it arises from the semicircular canals of inner ear. So in the inner ear we will have semicircular canals and cochlea, and these nerves which arise from the semicircular canals are called as vestibular nerve, and these once again are carried to the cerebrum, whereas cochlear nerve, which is formed from the spiral organ of Corti, which is also present in the inner ear, and this carries the what we can say sensory information to the cortex and cerebellum especially. So this is vestibulocochlear nerve, and this is essential for the maintenance of balance and hearing and all. Whereas the ninth cranial nerve, it is called as glossopharyngeal nerve, and this glossopharyngeal nerve is also an midset nerve. So we have seen facial nerve, it is a midset nerve where it gives motor impulses to the muscles of face and it gets sensory information from the anterior regions of tongue. Whereas the glossopharyngeal nerve, once again it is a midset nerve which has motor and sensory, and this sensory nerve, it gets impulses from the posterior regions of the tongue and the tonsils. From there it gets the sensory information, whereas the motor information, it is sent to the muscles of tongue, pharynx and salivary glands. So motor information is supplied to the muscles of tongue, pharynx and salivary glands, and generally the nuclei of this glossopharyngeal nerve, it lies in the medulla. The 10th cranial nerve, it is called as vagus nerve. So till now we have seen all these cranial nerves which arise from this different regions in the brain, and once again they are supplied to those organs which are present in the head or in the cranium or in the face. Whereas vagus nerve, it is the nerve which passes downwards and it is supplied to various other regions, or we can say all the internal organs which function involuntarily. And vagus nerve, it is also an midset nerve, so it has both sensory and motor information. Motor information is supplied to all those organs which are involuntary in nature, whereas sensory information is brought back from all those organs from this involuntary thing. So I think you know those difference between voluntary and involuntary. For example, all the muscles which we can contract and relax, so these are considered as voluntary in nature, whereas those organs which cannot be controlled by us, such as the heart, stomach, intestines, diameter of blood vessels, all these things, they are involuntary organs. And motor information, so generally it means for our stomach to contract, blood vessel to dilate, heart to contract, all such sort of motor information to this involuntary organs is supplied by this motor nerves of vagus nerve. And here it is supplied to all these regions, to all the muscles of smooth muscles especially, and to the glands in regions of pharynx, larynx, trachea, bronchi, heart, what we can say, carotid bodies, esophagus, stomach, intestines, pancreas, gallbladder, kidneys, ureters, urethras. In all these regions, the muscles, the glands, all these things are supplied by this motor unit of vagus nerve. So sensory information, once again, it is brought from all these regions. We'll see once again what are the actions of this motor input to those regions and all in the coming slides. And the next thing is accessory nerves. So accessory nerves are we can say this is an motor nerve, and this nuclei of this accessory nerve is also present in the medulla, and this is supplied to the muscles of neck, and this branches join with the vagus nerve and they are supplied to the pharyngeal and laryngeal muscles. Whereas the 12th and last pair, it is called as hypoglossal nerve. It is supplied to the muscles in the nuclei. It has its nuclei in the medulla, and it is supplied to the muscles of tongue and in those regions near to the hyoid bone. So these are the various cranial nerves.